A shrine carpenter who works with traditional Japanese wooden buildings. A temple carpenter is a carpenter who works on traditional Japanese wooden buildings such as temples, shrines, and mikoshi, portable shrine. The materials used are often large and expensive, and the carpenter is responsible for dismantling and repairing valuable cultural properties as well as new construction. It's a job with a lot of responsibility. A temple carpenter is a specialist in repairing old buildings that are national treasures and important cultural assets, and building temples and shrines. Carpenters are carpenters with a high level of skill. The roofs, pillars, beams, and other elements of traditional buildings have many complex shapes and curves, and require a high level of skill. These techniques have been designated by the Japanese government as designated conservation techniques that are necessary for the preservation of cultural properties. Most of the temple carpenters were known as migratory carpenters and did not work in one area. In the past, there were only a few hundred shrine carpenters in Japan, but with the aging of the workforce, the number of carpenters has declined to around 50. There used to be several hundred palace carpenters in Japan, but with the aging of the workforce, the number has dwindled to about 50. However, this is not the case. As a countermeasure, we are attempting to train our successors by incorporating traditional architecture into school education. There are not many young people who are willing to pass on their skills in the midst of rigorous training. The history of Japanese temple carpentry began in the Asuka period when two monks from Korea, Iji and Ieyasu, came to Japan. It started with the construction of Asuka Temple. Around the same time, Prince Shotoku also learned from these two monks from Korea, and he built a number of monasteries, including Horyuji Temple. It is said that he built historical buildings. Even today, Prince Shotoku is still worshipped as a god by palace carpenters. In this way, in the olden days, monks were involved in the construction and repair of their own temples and shrines, and in some cases they worked as temple carpenters. There seem to be a lot of them. Traditional Japanese buildings have been built in a way that suits the Japanese climate since ancient times. Japan is one of the most earthquake-prone countries in the world. Therefore, Japanese buildings have to be able to withstand the shaking of an earthquake. Therefore, Japanese buildings have been designed to withstand the shaking of an earthquake. In the old days, temple builders built buildings with almost no nails. This is because the combination of wood with nails is more resistant to natural disasters, such as earthquakes, than the use of nails on wood. The reason for this is because they had a stone called soseki as their foundation. In addition, a stone called soseki was used as the foundation of the building, on which the pillars were built. In this way, they could suppress the rebound of the building against the shaking of an earthquake and prevent it from collapsing. This also prevents moisture from being absorbed from the ground into the wood, making it less likely to rot. Other traditional buildings with beautiful curved roofs and eaves are the result of the wisdom of palace carpenters. The technology of wooden construction, developed through the wisdom and ingenuity of our predecessors, was much more advanced in the past than it is today. The technology of wooden construction, developed through the wisdom and ingenuity of our ancestors, was much more advanced in the past than it is today. Nowadays, we can work more efficiently than in the past due to advances in tools and other factors, but we can still use our wits like in the past. There are fewer and fewer opportunities to do so. This is thought to be the cause of the current degeneration of the skills of palace carpenters.